And one of the stories in the news there, speaking to an in-loco inspection of Alexandra before the commencement of today's leg of the Human Rights Commission's hearings into the Gauteng leg of the July 2021 unrest. Now, they will be in Alexandra, north of Johannesburg today, and the township was severely impacted by the unrest that left many businesses shut. The unrest also claimed more than 350 lives and caused damage worth over 50 billion rand to business and infrastructure in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. Chriselda Lewis has been following this story since it started, the Gauteng leg, and let's cross over to her now. She is in Alexandra Township where that in-loco inspection will take place. Chriselda, good morning. This, of course, a precursor to the hearing of one of the SANDF witnesses this morning.
Well, that's right, Sakina. Apologies, I'm really struggling to hear you due to the noise here. But indeed, a bit later on this afternoon, in fact, at about noon, we're expecting the Chief of the National Defence Force, Rutsani Maphwanya, to take the stand. That will be in Sandton, where the hearings are taking place. But we're in Alexandra Township at this particular stage, where you correctly point out that the Human Rights Commission is doing that in-loco inspection. You'd recall that Alexandra was one of the areas that was really hit by the July unrest. And one of the places that will be inspected here today is the Pan-Africa Mall. This is where I am standing in front of at this stage. We'll also go to the Helen Joseph Hostel, as well as another and the Stretla Informal Settlement. So you would know that Alexandra, together with the Soweto, is one of those areas that was affected by the July unrest. And there are a number of shops, we understand, that were so affected that they've not been able to reopen. A number of people have lost their jobs. And in fact, you would recall that one of the community leaders from Alexandra had already told the hearings that some of the contributing factors to why we saw such a huge number of people heeding to the call to protest is the socio-economic conditions, in particular in places like Alexandra, where the unemployment rate is extremely high, where during the course of the week, you'll see people walking around thinking it's the weekend. Everyone is basically just trying to find ways to survive. So I guess the Human Rights Commission, in addition to inspecting this Pan-Africa Mall that was also hit by the unrest in July, the Stretla Informal Settlement, that's where we will look at what some of the underlying factors were, as well as the hostels as well. The Human Rights Commission trying to get a sense of, what has since happened after the cleanup operations had taken place, what remains here. And certainly what they will hear is that some of the shops that were expected to reopen after the cleanup operations had taken place, some of those have not reopened. The Human Rights Commission has already arrived here. They're just parking inside this particular mall. And then a bit later on, as you indicated, we'll hear, of course, from the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, Rutsani Maphwanya. Remember that President Cyril Ramaphosa had basically given the go-ahead several days after the violence had broken out for the SANDF to be deployed to areas that were highly affected. Here in Alexandra is one of the areas where they'd been affected. And essentially, we'll hear from him about how the SANDF had conducted their operations, what it is that they found, because you must recall, at the time, I distinctly remember, Sakina, it was about shortly after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd been based in Soweto at the height of that violence, and one of the malls where I was at the time that the South African National Defence Force had arrived, everything had been completely destroyed at one of the malls where I was reporting from. So we'll truly get a sense about, the role of the South African National Defence Force in situations like that, where you would know that soldiers are often brought in when they want to give additional assistance, law enforcement assistance, to other law enforcement agencies like the South African African Police Service. So that's what we're expecting to take place here today. We'll move here from the Pan-Africa Mall to the hostels as well as the Stretla informal settlement. So we're expecting members of the South African Human Rights Commission to come down to us in just the next few moments. But we're expected to hear a lot from the community here about some of the underlying factors that may have been part of the spark that ignited what happened in July. Because as we hear from residents in Alexandra and Soweto that were affected is that while yes, we've heard in the hearings that what may have sparked this is the announcement of or the decision by the Constitutional Court to jail former President Jacob Zuma. But many people decided to join the protests and it became a looting spree as you'd seen back in July. So what would have been some of the reasons contributing to that? We've certainly heard from residents of Alexandra that the socio-economic conditions in areas like this have hugely contributed to that. So that's what we're expecting to take place here today.
Well, thanks so much, Chriselda. Obviously, lots to look forward to, and hope you're wearing, proper walking shoes today, because it sounds like it's going to be that sort of day for you out there in Alexandra this morning.